Hey guys, here we are, the Quiggin Out MMA Podcast, episode 43. I know you like the scenery change that I've got going on here with the camera angle, but I've got a very special guest with me. You guys have seen him on the show, and you've heard me talk about him probably endlessly to this point, but the one and only Uncle Creepy, as we're still going to call you for the rest of your life, Ian McCall. How you doing, man?
Doing very good. I finally got that shit changed on social media.
Did you really?
They were trying to charge me like 10, 15 grand, and I was like, nope, sorry. And then now I'm signed with a new agency in comedy because I'm a stand-up comedian because apparently I'm funnier than I look. And you know, my agent just goes, hey, do you want your name changed, right? And I was like, please, yes. He goes, okay. And he just goes, I'm talking to Instagram right now or Facebook, whoever it is you talk to.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Mark
cool. It's that
Zuckerberg,
easy. Yeah, he's, what, you just meet those people that know everybody. He's one of those guys.
I mean, cool. You?
Yeah, but he knows a bunch of other very high level people in Hollywood and just the world. It's weird, all over the place. It's fun. I've got like I don't do my own. So I mean, I'll post here and there like for social media, but I don't really I don't focus on it. I just focus on business. I have a lot to do.
And that's crazy because I didn't even notice. Like, until you just said it, I looked it up. And it says Ian McCall now. It doesn't say Uncle Creepy MMA. And it's kind of weird. So talk about like the end of an era, because that's what we're going to call it, of you being Uncle Creepy, a funny joke, a funny nickname that was given to you by a child that now is kind of, we're going to push aside and you're a stand-up comedian. Like, let's talk about that lifestyle change.
Well, realistically, no. I'm a stand-up comedian by hobby. I did get paid in Vegas, which was kind of cool. I paid a couple $100. But yeah. I'm a public speaker, so I started doing comedy because it was therapeutic for me, and I wanted to get better at public speaking, about educating for psychedelics, because I am what is called a psychedelic researcher, and I basically am setting up the psychedelic industry. I now run a VC studio where I basically have always had 100 projects going on at once, and these people have kind of studied me, I guess, and seen how I work and seen my work ethic, and they have put me to work. I'm doing 15 companies in 5 years.
So 3 companies a year.
All in psychedelics is the plan. They're going to be doing 100 companies in 5 years. Wow. We'll be the first crowd-funded VC. So this is for the people, by the people. This is like it's called
for the people, by the people, with the people. Like
everyone can make a lot of money. It's realistically, I mean, everyone's got the chance to do it. It's not just the VC douchebags that usually do it. I'm not one of those guys.
No.
No. I didn't take my chance to go do a special school like Ivy League or do whatever I could have done as a kid. I didn't follow the family plan. I turned into this, and I fought people in a cage. But I know a lot. I grew up with those people, those same guys, the same people, the Harvard Business School people, and now I work with them, I guess, kind of. But it's different, like being, we're changing the way I don't even know how VCs are done, to be really honest. My boss, my partner, Mark is really cool, and he's teaching me everything, and I'm like, cool, okay, yeah, you just tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it, because that's just how I work, and it's starting off well. We've all got so many connections as a group, and so many accolades. Like all the meetings I have with people now are all like, I went to MIT, or I was at Harvard, or I was here, I was there, I've done this and I've done that. I'm like, wow, who the fuck am I? I'm the new guy. I used to climb into a cage of underwear, beat people up for blood money. That was kind of cool. Like, what? It's just I've learned a lot, especially now in the psychedelic space. I'm not a doctor or scientist or actual real researcher. I mean, I have done real research, but there's people who are better at it. So I'd rather just be, an investment in an idea guy, trying to think of, retreat centers or clinics and lifestyle brands and productizing stuff and just so on and so on and so on and so on. Churches, we do need to start a church. That'll be one of them for sure, because there's just a way to do all this stuff. And there'll be rules and regulations. Like I'm not making this silly and just having fun.
No, this is
for
a
people.
Jim Jones situation. Like we're good.
This is for people this is for people's healing. Like the whole world's real fucked up. I once was, and I'm not anymore. And I know that people can do it. Like these medicines are readily available. The California laws are changing. The U.S. laws are changing as a whole. Cannabis, they're coming around to it because the people need it. They want it, and they're going to get it. And California's first. California and Oregon are first. Or I should say Oregon is first, but California will end up taking over because they do everything better than everybody else.
Nobody's going to talk about Oregon, so
sorry, guys. Exactly. Nobody cares. No, I love Oregon. But I get to be a mover and a shaker and a person that I don't have to deal with the drama of companies, like of the competition of all the stuff. Like no, I'm just building stuff and just sending it out there. People come to me with ideas, and we do the idea. We are a one-stop shop for people who have ideas. They come in, we facilitate everything else they need as far as building a brand at a high level, whether that's going into the app space and this and that and the other thing. Like we have somebody for a very high-level professional in each of those second or group, I guess, of people doing it, because it's going to be a big team with 100 companies in 5 years. Is crazy.
I mean, that's always been you, though. You're always that person who's like, what can I do to be more? What can I do? And it took you not fighting anymore to really reach a full potential, which we've talked about before. And I don't know if this was on a live thing. I don't think anybody's ever seen this. But that moment I told you that like your low point in life was winning a title was like profound to you. It was something that you're like, oh my God. Like, I just remember watching you sit there and go, holy shit. Like that was a low point in my life. And I've seen, the changes over the last 11 years at this point. And, I'll save I was going to save the surprise till later, but, I just had to bring out this gem. I don't know if you're ready for this, and it's not what you think it is, pervert. Oh
shit, that was the first time we met?
That was. And the Stash-tastic hat that you've got rocking there.
Yes.
But
what's so funny?
Go
ahead. I was saying I look so much different. I carry myself differently. I'm 165 pounds at least. That's 120.
This is the fight day. So you probably weighed like 138 that day.
Yeah. And I was not feeling it that day either.
No.
But I went to the UFC in Scottsdale or in Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting with Jake Shields, who I've known since I was like 15. It's crazy how long I've known people in the sport.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and Reed Harris comes up and starts talking to Jake. And I've known Reed since I was 19. And I'm sitting there, and I was like, Reed. He says his name. He didn't look at me. I said it again. He looks, and he goes, oh, shit. Whoa, it's you. What the fuck? Because, bro, you look so much different. He's like, yeah, good to see you. I haven't shown my face in a while. I've been doing business with UFC on a different level. I've been talking to executives about business stuff, which, that trick. People hear about it. People use my products at the Performance Institute. We've always had a really good relationship with them, and Dana White, Dana's always made my life really good. He's always taken care of me, and him acknowledging me in the whole Johns Hopkins study with the UFC.
That was huge.
That changed the course of my life. And I'll forever, be in his good graces. I love the man. I mean, I always have. But no. Now I'm going back to the UFC. Like I went to the Conor fight. I'm texting Dana on my way out, like on a Saturday. Hey, you have any tickets? And he's like, "Shut up."
To a Conor fight? No.
Yeah, he's like, "You have contacts at the hotels?" I'm like, maybe. I don't gamble. And then, of course, what happened? I got a ticket with someone who's a very, very high roller and very rich person. And those just the circles are running. So I'm sitting here with this person, and other people are bringing up venture capital stuff. And now I'm like, oh, I run a venture studio. And they're like, really? And they started saying all this stuff, and I'm like, just like, wow, this is interesting. It's an interesting space to be in because people keep telling me all these things that are going to happen in my life, and I'm just like, this sounds crazy. I'm like, this is going to be really wild. I mean,
I don't really know what's crazy to you anymore. I really don't. After all the years of us talking, like what's crazy to me and what's crazy to you are two different things. And what's crazy to you is more normal to me, which is
yeah,
at that point, living that lifestyle. But like you said, going to that fight, we all know Connor brings in the fans, and I hate even bringing up his name. And I say that at the same time that I knew Dustin was going to win. I didn't think it was going to end like that.
of course.
Nobody did. Nobody was anticipating that. But at the same time, you've got enough of a standing in the community to be able to pull that off because that was a sold out show. I guarantee that. I know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was.
And you're able to get a ticket the day of.
It pulled in. Reed Harris came down to the VIP exit and got me, and brought me. I was like, here. I never even held the ticket. I just got in and was on the floor, and I was like, this is rad. I love my life. And it's fun to be back at the UFC on a whole different wavelength, and just be happy to be there and just watch these people just do that. And like, you guys are crazy. I used to do that, but I'm like, I'm having way too good of a time. I mean, I was out in Vegas for 4 days for comedy. So I did my first 4 days in a row out there. And just, I got in a car accident on my way home. I don't know if you can see this right there. Hit my head, burnt my arm, burnt my foot.
Airbag?
Yeah, I have something on my stomach too from glass. I fell asleep. So I was sleeping on my way home. My buddy was driving my car, and just because I'm like, yeah, he lives 40 minutes from my house, and I'm tired. So I'm like, you drive. I drove the first hour. I slept. I wake up when we get to his house. I'm like, all right, cool. See you, man. Love you. Bye. Got in the car, turned on the street, and then I woke up and I was on the curb. I had three options: a homeless encampment, some telephone poles, and a fire hydrant, and I chose fire hydrant. So I hit the fire hydrant and jacked my car up. Brand new, well, not brand new, like 6 months old. I love that car too, so I'm kind of bummed.
What'd you wreck? What'd you wreck?
The new Hyundai Palisade.
Oh,
bro, they're so nice. That thing is so rad. It drove itself, and I was just like I just fell asleep, bummed out. But I'll get something else. I don't need a car that big anymore, so I was with a woman who had 4 kids, so I need a bigger car. Now I need a small car, so I'm going to get something smaller.
Listen, man, we've all been there. I had last Friday, then.
Yeah.
I was driving home from an hour away from my house. And I'm driving home, and all of a sudden I'm like, ho. Like that moment of just terrifying. So with you, like you said, you had a homeless encampment, you had a telephone pole or a fire hydrant. I mean, you really picked the best of the 3 options there.
Yeah, I could have killed somebody. It's like really disappointing in myself. I could have slept at my friend's house. Like my mom, my girlfriend, they were just like, "What are you doing? Like, you could have stayed in Vegas for one more night, you cheap bastard. Like, you could have paid for a room. It's not a big deal." I'm like, I know. I just wanted to get home.
Are a cheap bastard.
I'm like, I know. I just wanted to be home. I wanted to get home to my house. I have this rad new apartment up on the beach. I love being here. So I was like, I want to get home, and then that happened. So now I'm dealing with the consequences, and it's all right. It is what it is. I just have to. I don't take risks anymore, man. I don't. I don't do that in life. I don't. I'm not out partying super hard. I'm not out sleeping around or doing anything crazy or going on. I don't even take. Well, I mean, I don't
even think. Hold on.
I jumped off some cliffs in Mexico, but that was
I mean,
for fun.
I went skydiving a few years ago, and that's something I would never have done because I hate heights.
Yeah, but I'm not avidly out searching to risk my life anymore because I got too much to do. I got too much to accomplish, and I'm trying to, start a family. So
Wait, wait. Start a family?
I think eventually we'll see. We'll see what's
Oh.
going on in my life.
Well,
It's you.
we'll
I can.
talk about that later because you said
I,
girlfriend, so I want to talk about that. But
it's the same one from forever. So she's back, and my family's like, family time. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is how this works. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever.
so
It's my favorite person in the world, so it's okay.
it's all that matters, man. Like
Yeah.
we've talked about it before, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing me say this because it sounds more like fanboy. But at the same time, like when you're in the MMA journalism field for as long as I've been, it's been 10, 11 years, 12 years at this point. I've watched you grow up, and you're older than me,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've watched you grow up. I've seen you do some stupid shit. I've talked to you about doing some stupid shit. And I've tried to talk you out of doing some stupid shit. And this is the most relaxed I've seen you. This is the most focused I've seen you. And again, I really feel like while fighting turned from your career into your hobby, and what you're doing now with the business aspect, I feel like you can do anything. You
Yeah.
know, we'll use the age old. Oh gosh, I have to make sure I do this right. It's Tommy Boy. Um, your dad could sell a ketchup popsicle to an Eskimo in white gloves, and that's how I feel you are. Like you're that person who could be like, just give me something, and I'll run with it.
Yeah,
And I
pretty
think
much.
I think with the right people in your corner, no pun intended, you really have that potential to do something. So I kind of want to like shift gears and talk about that the real sports segment you did. You
Oh
had sent
yeah.
me a copy, and again, one of the most profound things I've watched because really they couldn't talk about where they were. They couldn't show all the footage because I guarantee that footage would have been way too much for people to even comprehend, myself included. But I would have watched it anyways.
You know what? That made me. I got real butthurt first because I wanted to be a star. My ego got in the way big time. And Jordan Kronick, the producer, the director, or whatever it was, he just calls me and goes, "Hey man, you need to fucking relax." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Do you understand how heavy that footage is?" He's like, "We can't release that footage." He's like, "Not at first." He's like, "Maybe we'll keep it and get back to it later." He's like, "But dude," he's like, that footage will hurt the industry." He's like, "That was really fucking gnarly." And I was like, "Well, fine." Now I've had time to I've had time to reflect on that, and obviously it's his job. He made the right choice.
Hold on, I have to look like you. I have to
Want to twist your mustache?
yeah, smush it.
Yeah,
Maybe this year I'll try to pull it off. Maybe this year, but it's hard. But talking about that, I mean, looking at Dean Lister, yourself, and just I've probably watched that 50 times. I'm not even exaggerating because
thank you.
watching, and of course I'm not going to remember his name in the moment, but watching the NHL player talk about looking at the rafters and wondering if he could hang himself and what would happen from those moments to having a 4-hour conversation with his dead grandparents and coming out of it a different person, and the explanations about the retraining of the neurotransmitters and the neural pathways in your brain. Being a psych major and having a psych degree, I say a psych degree, a bachelor's degree is nothing, but really it's fascinating stuff. So talk about what it was like to actually film that and have a film crew there for something that was pretty intimate and pretty intense
And illegal.
and illegal. And I guarantee we only saw about 1% of what really went on there. So if you can talk a little bit about that, because it's been a while since that came out. It's almost been a year.
Yeah, it's been
And
the
it's something that I've watched over and over because even with Dean Lister and hearing Dean speak and talk about how difficult it was to remember people's names and to walk into a room to forget his wallet and not know why he went there. We think of those as little things, but at the same time, that's you guys deal with that on a lifelong basis. Being
on
punched in the
a
head.
daily
Yeah.
a daily basis. It is intruding to all of our daily tasks. And it sucks. And it gets frustrating. And you cry or you freak out. You punch a hole in the wall because you're just a caveman. That's what you're so used to dealing with your issues is punching it. And it's not a good life. And these are just normal people who are so beaten and broken and bruised and damaged. You think they became a fighter in the first place because they have some trauma and some damage in the first place. So we have to deal with that because that stuff affects all of us.
Yeah.
So then add on top, tons of brain damage from concussive and subconcussive blows fighting on an almost daily basis. You're getting punched. Yeah, these people they get driven insane. And to be a guiding light, to be part of the first team of people that was on big time, not real television, because there's never been a mushroom ceremony on television. The only other one I know that was shot was one I did with Rashad Evans, and that was
of course you were involved in that. Like, why wouldn't you be?
And we were out in Colorado at this guy named Del Jolly's house, the Unlimited Sciences. It was a great one. I would love to watch that. Fuck, I hope they release that one. But that whole thing was what changed. That is a huge catalyst for sports. It's the catalyst for sports because Daniel Garcia was doing nothing but running into a wall with the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL was no one had even talked to them yet. There was like it had been brought up with a few sports, but having the UFC just open arms, like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. Check it out. Come over. Let's talk. Like they were asking me for meetings, and then a year after they turned me down for the study,
which I remember we talked about that.
Yeah, and it broke my heart, that they said no, but I understood it. It was
from schedule a business standpoint.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, that just shows you over the pandemic, so much had changed that they could say yes because they saw me on HBO. And that right there had such a huge ripple effect. They're going to start studying these fighters' brains, and they're going to start fixing them. And that in turn is going to help people fix everybody else. Because if you use the gnarliest example of brain damage and trauma in the world that went up on a live stage and bled for you and put everything on the line for you, and then you get to see them get fixed and tell the story about it. So I always tell this because it's impactful. Take two brains, okay? Two brains right here. You have, but both the brains are covered in brain damage. Okay, the one on the right is an adult who lived a very good life, made their own choices, got a traumatic brain injury when they're 30. A lot of brain damage. On the left, it looks the same. Remember, that's a child who's repeatedly raped. Brain damage looks the same. So why are we calling people slutty or crazy or depressed or whatever when they get older? When there's a reason. So if I can fix the kids and get all these doctors that are overprescribing painkillers now overprescribe my medicine that I own. I own a company with Daniel Garcia and Mike Tyson. Wisana, it's a pharmaceutical company. If they can overprescribe our medicine, then great. Everyone should be on mushrooms. Children should be on mushrooms too. They're good for people. They're good for kids. People like hate that I say that. And I'm like, no, dude, people get so mad at me.
I'm hoping we get some hate comments on this because I'll take hate comments over anything else. Because
no, dude,
if there's anybody who can explain the benefits, everything you've done with London, everything you've done with everybody else.
But I've never given London mushrooms because I know
I know the mushroom part, but I'm saying like for the RA, like everything you dealt with, cryo, everything you went through with her. Yeah.
And my ex-wife's just like, hey, listen, that's London's choice. And I said, okay, that's fair. But I've asked her, and I promised her, I respect the fuck out of her. She's my ex-wife, and we share a baby. But it's these things. And this is information I have directly from Johns Hopkins, from someone named Matthew Johnson, who's the first professor of psychedelics in the whole world. He's the second in charge at Johns Hopkins. He's my friend. And I get to text him. It's so cool. It's so fun. I ask questions. I'm talking to him and I go, hey, I have people asking me this question. Pregnant women, a pregnant woman asked me this question: can she eat mushrooms while pregnant? And I said, what's the answer? Because he knew I was already answering that question for her or
Yeah.
for him. But I said, what's the answer? I want to know what you say. There's no mechanism in the brain or the body that's negatively affected by psychedelics. Women shouldn't eat. The only time they shouldn't eat mushrooms is when they're in their second trimester, because it'll upset their stomach and they can throw up, and that's never good.
Yeah.
So first and second, or while giving birth, they can eat mushrooms. I know people who have, and they say it's the coolest, the most transformative, in touch thing with your baby you can do. That and ayahuasca as well.
Seriously,
And
that ayahuasca stuff fascinated me. Everything in that special just was fascinating to the point of like with Dean throwing up. And I'm going to bring up Dean because they focused on him a lot.
yeah,
But Dean just saying, "Am I dead? Is this hell? Am I in my own hell?" Like that's not a crazy person. That was somebody like
no.
coming to terms with everything that they've dealt with all at
So
once.
okay, yes. So okay, Dean went through the perfect stereotypical trip that you want on camera, and people you never verbalize it like that. He verbalized it in like 3 or 4 languages. He's a guy. I love Dean. He speaks so many languages. He's so funny. And my ex was one of the facilitators. She's a shaman from Serbia, so she speaks a bunch of languages too. A scientist and UCLA professor. I'm speaking very little Portuguese and Spanish and
Portuguese. Yeah.
Portuguese, man.
Portuguese.
Um, no, it was a crazy night, and I had taken more mushrooms than I took before that night. I've already been past the 5 gram mark,
Yeah.
but they wanted me to
The
take
hero's
5.
dose, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, but I had already ingested, I think, at 15, or maybe 12 and a half at that point. But that night I only took 5, so I was supposed to talk to David Scott after, and I did, and that was gnarly talking to him on that much mushrooms. But the ceremony itself was really intrusive, and nothing against Jordan Cronick and the crew. They're fucking amazing. They're so good at what they do.
They
But
did what they were supposed to,
yes,
but I don't think they were prepared for that.
No, and we were none of us were prepared because this had never been done before. And honestly, when I look back on it, I'm trying to get a travel show. My travel show just got, I think, canceled. I not canceled, but I don't have a company backing it now, so I got to figure this out. But it was going to be a travel show for taking people around the world to eat mushrooms and talking about mushroom trips and integration and all this stuff. But I would never ever again film the actual ceremony itself,
Well, and
because
I felt like
it,
at the same time that was private. Like that
and so that's why it's not. The techniques are all the same. The trauma is all the same. It's how does the person want to tell it? And I don't want them to come out with this very private, the most private of information on camera, and be not almost feel like they're rused into using it on TV to make better TV. No.
yeah.
Like you take out what you want to take, and I want you to say it, because that's where you get the best therapy, is when you're talking yourself, not hearing someone else talk and analyze your shit.
No.
It's you talking, and walking down the street eating healthy food and talking about integration and trauma and addiction and how it's gonna get better, and the new things in your life you're looking forward to, and just paint a good picture. But like I said, now my job has changed, so I might not be doing a travel show, but we'll see.
Well,
It's a dream of mine.
and at the same time, I feel like you'd be the perfect person, because you could tell the guys telling the story was like when they bring in a random broadcaster who does basketball to cover hockey. And he's like, yeah, the puck, ice. You could tell they were not comfortable discussing the topic because, again, it wasn't something they'd been discussing for years.
Yeah. What's the guy in the UFC?
Which one?
There's the white guy who did WWF, and then there's the black guy who does other sports. I forgot what sport he does. They don't know shit about mixed martial arts, but they somehow can talk about it.
Oh God,
Not David Scott.
It's not Stephen Smith, right?
Stephen A. Smith, yes.
Yeah, that guy's.
He's a fucking moron.
Thank you. But they bring him in, and I'm just like, this is angry. But at the same time, to this day, anytime I watch any of the old WEC fights and Frank Mir is commentating and he says guillotine, I get upset. So I'm not comparing the two, but I get it. They brought Stephen A. Smith just for the Connor fight. They literally brought somebody just to talk and
Just talk
talk about,
shit.
yeah. And that's what it comes down to. We've gotten to a point where it's like, all right, I'm going to say it here. I don't think I've said it before on here. If I have, I'm sorry. Nothing against Cowboy, but I think he threw the fight against Connor. I just, and I know that's a bold statement, and I'm probably going to get blackballed by a lot of people for saying that, but watching somebody get shoulder strike like 5 times in a row, I've never seen a fighter do that. That'd be the equivalent to me as getting jabbed 5 times in a row with your hands down and going, oh, it hit me in the face. Oh, it hit me in the face. Oh, it hit me in the face, and so on and so forth. I know Cowboy is a proud man and a good fighter, but I feel like in that instance, like they needed a big thing from Connor. So yeah, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna conspiracy theorist it because
Okay.
I love that shit. Um, I've been to the book depository where Kennedy was shot. I love all that stuff because to me, I love seeing a different side of it, a side that is not the norm, a side that is not what we're taught. And I feel like that's what you're doing with this. We're taught mushrooms are bad, drugs are bad, they're not good for you. It's not going to be helpful in any way, shape, or form. And you're starting to see these benefits and being able to see a neuroscientist explain how this is helping people versus just some guy who's taken mushrooms and had a profound revelation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we're changing the world, which is so cool. To be a part of that, to be one of the change makers, I guess as you could say, is a really, really good feeling. And to be like, I don't even have to deal with personal politics. I've told you some of the drama that
Oh,
I've dealt with through this bullshit. But you know what happens? You get fucked on your way to the top a lot. Like if you just keep plugging away, bad shit stops happening to you for the most part. Just because you get better at this game than everybody else. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get better at this fun game because people expect a lot out of me, and I'm like, all right, cool. And then they tell me these things and how my future's going to be, and it's like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. I like that. I like the way that sounds. Yeah, it's just it's kind of wild. We'll get
and it
into it
is
later.
because you're looking at it from a sense of this isn't a selfish endeavor. You're not doing this to be famous. You're not doing this to be rich. If those things happen,
I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be. I don't want to be that. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to become more famous. But you know, yeah, I'm just looking to live up to what my family thought I could do in the first place. I became the black sheep, and now I'm trying to kind of find myself kind of in charge of the family. I come from a long lineage of people that do well in business and such. So it's like I have to further the family name and things like that. And I find myself saying that at 37, like, wow, I fucking sound like an idiot. But no, these are the people I love, and this is the
I
things that
didn't say anything.
I just don't really like my don't really like
Listen,
most of my family.
you're not the normal person. We'll talk about that, and everybody watching this is probably like, I thought this was about fights, and we literally talked about life after fighting. But realistically, you're
I don't
not.
fight anymore.
Yeah, you're not a normal person.
No.
We can get that out of the way right away, and that's why this is going to change. Um, I'm going to bring up a conversation I had with Gary Goodrich years and years and years
Okay.
ago. And I remember watching an MMA Unleashed that was on Spike when it was still Spike TV. And they went to his house and they interviewed him, and he said, once you guys leave, I'm probably not going to remember that you were even here. I'm
Yeah.
probably not going to know what happened today or what I said until I watch this. And, but if Dana White showed up tomorrow with a briefcase with $30,000, I don't know if that was the exact amount, and asked me if I'd fight tomorrow, I would do it. And it was one of those moments that really resonated with me personally because I had reached out to him to interview him years ago. And he said, yeah, go ahead and email me. We'll set up a time. We were going back and forth in messaging. I emailed him and I got back a message that basically said, I don't know who the fuck you think you're talking to. I'm Gary Goodridge. Who are you? Why are you talking to me? And it was within minutes of our conversation earlier. And it really scared me to the effect that there is a long-standing effect on you guys that nobody's talking about. I know it's coming out a lot more. I want to say Spencer Fisher, Gray Maynard. There's a lot of guys speaking out against how things are happening. I mean, we could probably go on for days about the whole Diego Sanchez thing because that was some crazy shit.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, Diego does a lot of psychedelics.
Yeah.
But some people do. They don't. Diego's always been crazy, but sometimes they can make you a little more crazy if you don't do them properly. And he's my friend. I don't want to say he's crazy, but he is crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like
you're crazy too. Like, let's be honest.
There's different
levels.
Different types of crazy, and I don't like seeing people go into a direction that doesn't need to happen when they're just because they shouldn't be taking psychedelics. They're not for everybody. Not everybody needs these or should have them in their body. Simple.
But I love that you also say that too, because that's important. People don't understand how important that really is, that you're not pushing these on everybody just because you want to or just because you feel like everybody should have them. You have an agenda in mind to make people better, not to force something on them that's not in their best interest.
Exactly. And this is, there's even if you go to the medical model, they're going to make these drugs way safer and much more when they're going to, make them, take a lot of the certain profiles of things that are in them chemically and whatnot, and they're going to make them safer and kind of dull the effects. So then people can just take this stuff and get the same healing without having the psychedelic
side effects. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you take these microdoses, you're trying to create things like brain-derived neurotrophic factor and glutamate that are like miracle grow for the brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's a commonly used little adage there. But that's the stuff that's going to lead to our next jump in evolution as a species.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and it's like if you look at the science behind it and the evolutionary stuff, and you're just like, oh, okay, all this stuff makes a lot of sense. It sounds crazy that Santa Claus is a mushroom, or that the stoned ape theory, how we evolved as humans by eating mushrooms off of animal poop, and that's how our brains doubled in size or quadrupled in size, or how mushrooms come from outer space and panspermia. I can go way back. You want to talk about God? I'll blow you away. Yeah, they do. They come from space. They come on asteroids. They pollinate the universe. And
I'm only laughing just because it's you. I'm not disrespecting any theories, but really,
yeah. Think about it. This isn't theories. They found fungus on asteroids, and the first thing to ever be on this planet was fungus. That's what everything comes from. So it makes a lot of sense. And if you believe in God, maybe because now you know that every single star has a planet just like this. And this is just a shooting gallery. He's just taking aim and just slinging fungus across the universe, pollinating everything and just seeing what grows. He's having fun. He'll come check on us every once in a while and be like, these ones really fucked up. Next one's, oh, this is kind of cool. Oh, look at these guys, He doesn't really care about us.
Listen, regardless of what you believe in, I think that's what deja vu is. I think it's a repeat, or it's whether you think it's an alternate universe or going that far, like, everybody watching this can be like, what the fuck are they talking about? But realistically, like, deja vu doesn't make any sense. Psychologically, it doesn't make any sense. Like, rationally, anything. But we've all had that moment where we knew what the person was going to say or do, or, the conversation that was going to be had before it happened. That's not a sense of intuition. That has happened to you before. So like you said, there's millions of universes. I talked about this with somebody the other day. There's millions of universes. There's millions of stars. We're not the only ones out there. It'd be ridiculous to think that. And for something that has grown from the earth like a mushroom to have these effects on our brain that are positive when taking the right ones is fascinating.
Have you seen Fantastic Fungi?
No, you told me to watch it.
Dude, go watch that fucking movie. Louis made that movie.
I'll put it on my list. I'll watch it.
Man,
I'll watch it when I'm 33.
My friend, I met him through the political movement of psychedelics. One of his showings. That movie is so good. Man, mushrooms are going to save the world, and not just psychedelics on like a spiritual sense or like a psycho-spiritual sense. Mushrooms are going to save the world in a bunch of different ways. You guys go look it up because I'm tired. I don't need to explain it all. It's a lot of information. Go watch that movie and you'll get it.
You're at a point where you're an ambassador. Like, you can't get away from this.
No, dude, I talk about it all day. Like, I went into the office it's called Nobody Studios. Went into the office today because they had a leadership meeting since Monday or Tuesday, and I'm the new guy. So I showed up today and met a bunch of them. And I started talking, and then I realized, like, okay, cool. These are good people. Like, they like what I have to say. They seem very interested in just me as people usually are. So I was just like, they're like, I just want to watch you talk for a while. I'm like, okay, sure,
and
I'll do that.
The eye, you shut one eye when you get really interested, really focused.
This is my bad eye. So yeah, but I don't know, man. Life is really, really interesting because I lost one job because they didn't have funding, couldn't afford me. And then this other thing popped up where I might be able to give the other company money to invest. And then,
wait, the same company you left?
Yeah. I have to see why they didn't go public. There's just stuff that I have to look at that I don't even know what I'm looking for. I just have a team of people that can do it for me. So it's cool. I'm learning all this on the fly.
Well, that's what you have to do. And you're the kind of person who will thrive in any environment. You could stick you in the middle of Alaska, in the middle of an ice fisherman's hut, and you'd find some way to incorporate your knowledge into that lifestyle and change what's going on. So I kind of want to change the focus to comedy because, I mean, you're a funny dude, but how is it?
I'm not that funny.
I mean, you're funny enough to play in Vegas, but I guess they let anybody play in Vegas.
Sure, dude. That
the only dig I give you the entire time, so I'm going to take it.
You know what? Comedy, like I was saying earlier, was just therapy for me. I just wanted to feel better. I'm working at this high level in psychedelics, and I got kicked out of a ketamine clinic with like a psychologist. I had a very famous self-love coach say, like, nope, sorry, I can't work with you. You're too fucked up. And I'm like, okay, another psychologist, and ended up working it out with her. Just stuff, I'm not good with Western psychology. So I used the stage to be therapeutic. And just the first, it was 8 months before COVID started, I was horrible. And I said the dumbest shit on stage, but I had to just get it out. And then over COVID, I did a lot of healing with psychedelics. But I did the actual integration work. Like, I had nothing else to do. So I did all the proper integration techniques that I knew and that I was studying for so long. And it paid off, and I was focusing on business, and I was focusing on psychedelics, education, and all that stuff. And it just blossomed into me being one of the faces of the industry, which was kind of cool. But the comedy part, it took off because I have a puppet show, which you've seen, right? I was an educational puppet show for psychedelics, and I'm signed with an agency called LMG, and we they take care of all my media stuff because I don't have a booking agent for comedy. I don't need one.
Mhm.
Nor do I want one. I need to keep working and getting better at it because I'm not good enough yet. It's like I can get access to shows and the people that I don't really deserve. So I need to, sometimes just check myself. I'm like, nope, not doing that. Like it's opportunity, but I make money. I'm not doing comedy for money.
No.
This is a personal pursuit. Sure, one day. You want to know how I look at it? Because comedians always think small. They do. They're most of them are they're those kind of people. Um, I've been on. I see like Rogan and them on billboards for just selling out like T-Mobile Arena. I've been on a billboard a couple times selling out arenas for fights. I'm like, I can do that in comedy. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I'm gonna try
And
to
I
do
don't get
that.
punched in the face.
Yeah. Like it took me 24 years to be able to be a world champion in MMA. 24 years. If I can do this in comedy in 24, then I'll have two really cool lives. Like two completely cool lives that I'm really stoked on. So, we'll see. I'm just doing it because I like doing it. So, and I think it's cool. I don't hear people talking shit. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad because I'm super nice to everybody and I'm receptive to information. And comedians are rad people, to be honest. Like I kind of thought some of them might be kind of shitty coming up, like before I really got to know many of them. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, these people are all amazing. Like, you know what I mean? It was. I think that I figured maybe the overall attitude of being a comic was kind of snidey and bullshit, but that didn't seem to be the case. They're really sweet people.
No, and I'll say this. We got to meet Lewis Black a few years ago. He played in Clearwater, and it was on Valentine's Day, and he was like, "What the hell's wrong with you people? Valentine's Day? You thought this was a good date night?" And I remember he was sitting out in the lobby signing autographs, and I just expected him to be just prima donna, like, yeah, whatever, come on, blah blah blah. And he was so personable. And to this day, I'm afraid if somebody gave me front row tickets to his show, I would never go because I am firmly convinced that when he points his finger, he can make a human body explode. I'm dead serious. And I'm afraid it might happen to me. But you're right. Comics, fighters, you're one and the same when it comes to that because you can either go one of two ways. You can either be super personable and really enjoy the fans, or you can be that asshole. You can be
Yeah.
that person who I'm bigger, I'm better than everybody. Like that's what it is. So it's cool to hear that the interactions you've had with people have been positive. They've been probably not what you were expecting, like you said, and it was a lot better than that. So, who's been the best person to work with on stage so far? Yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So,
Oh man, I'm still. I'm not like performing with anyone big yet, and I do have my friends who like own nightclubs and stuff, or like have big comedy shows in LA. Like, you got to go up and do 10. I'm like, no, I don't. They'll it's Vanessa Johnson or Violet Jones is her new name, but Vanessa Johnson, she's like the pretty comic that's down the scene now. She's like the hottest chick in comedy, like
Mhm.
actually physically looking. Um, she puts on a really really good show. Like she's got all the biggest names in it, and it just so happens to be at the place where my buddies have nightclubs. And then after we go to one of the nightclubs, and I'm always with them because they're the owners and they're my good friends. But they'll always see like some other very big name comic and be like, "Hey, you need to meet Ian." Like, "Oh, he's a comic too." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." They're like, "No,
You're like, no, 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 no.
we got to get him up there for 10 minutes." I'm just like, "Hey, man." One time I was like, "Yo, I'm like, you need to stop." I was like, "I'm only been doing this like a year and a half, and you need to not even a year, half a year." I'm like, "You need to respect these people up there." And then they like hear me say something like that, and they're like, "Oh, he's cool." Like I'm like, yeah. Listen, I'm signed to an agency because I'm already famous and I have a puppet show and like have sponsors that are begging to sponsor me, like psychedelic brands that are just trying to build and all this stuff. So I'm like, oh, they're like, well, how do we give you money? And I'm like, hold on, let me build a puppet first, and we'll go from there. Um,
It
I
sounds
didn't
so
build a
weird when
puppet.
you say build a puppet show, but anybody who's seen it, like it's legit.
My,
Like this
oh
isn't
my
like
god,
some sock puppet. This isn't a
no,
Mr.
no, no.
Sacco mankind kind of situation. Yes, I'm gonna throw that old school wrestling reference in there because it's well, yeah, right. We made a special move out of you shoving a sock into somebody's mouth.
Yes. No, this is my buddy who's a music producer. He called me and goes, "Yo, what's up, man? Um, you know the puppets, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That shit's dope." He's like, "I made you a puppet," and I was like, "Oh, cool, thank you." He goes, "Don't judge me. I haven't made a puppet in a while." And I was like, "Keep going." Okay, you haven't made a puppet in a while. He's like, "Yeah, but I went into this whole lengthy story about making puppets," and I was like, "What the fuck, puppets?" I was like, "All right, well, thank you." And
Thanks, crazy
they
dude.
yeah, they filmed a bunch of stuff, and we filmed like a whole year's worth of puppet material, basically. Um, and it was fucking expensive. Just for my friends to do everything, it was expensive to just do it. But like you see, like how much, what all goes into that sort of stuff. Because certain companies give me a budget, like Argos is my main
Is that on your hat, Argos?
No. This is Arcana. This is the retreat center that I work with.
Ah, okay.
Spiritual center, and that's where I went down and did ayahuasca last with 18 veterans from the Heroic Hearts Project, Jesse Gold and them. Yeah, we're down in the Mayan Yucatan, by like 3 hours northwest of Tulum in Izamel. It's a place called Chambalate. It's like a 600-year-old botanical garden. It's the oldest hacienda in the Yucatan. It's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been. And I went down there and we did copious amounts of medicine in the safety of this place with these healers, and it was the most transformative week in my life for sure.
11 years of hearing these stories, and you always have something that just makes my brain explode. You're like, yeah,
Oh,
we're just
dude.
doing this, like, and I don't even know the half of it. After
Oh,
all
no,
this,
no, no, no. If I told you all this crazy shit that happened there, that we'll get into later, that like the things that the mushrooms told me, I took 20 grams of mushrooms. A therapeutic dose is 3.5. So I learned a lot about myself. But man, it was
I hope
it
you
was
wrote that
crazy.
stuff down.
Oh yeah, I have a journal.
Okay,
And
we'll use that later. We know why.
yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of crazy things happen in my life, and you know, I'm just I'm one with the medicine. The medicine is what guides me through my day because I I have to. I need it. And my life's too crazy not to have it.
Well, and I think there's a difference between somebody who's using it recreationally and there's somebody who's using it for the health benefits and knowing what it can do for you. Don't yawn. It's like
Uh,
8 o'clock there. Come on, man.
what time is it? Yeah, it's I
It's almost midnight here. I don't want to hear it.
yeah I I don't go back to the well like I used to anymore. I used to go back to the well all the time, and now I go back to the well twice a year probably.
Mm.
And it'll be under the care of shaman that I trust, probably at Arcana. I'm going to go to Mexico in December, and take my family actually. But this is the medicines. This is, like I said, this is how I live. They tell me things about my life and help me fix things about my life that nothing else can. So I listen to them very intently.
And you kind of have to, again, watching you, the troubled soul that you were, because you were still a kid, really, when I met you.
Yeah,
Uh,
I acted like one for sure.
yeah. And I mean, that lasted up until, I would say, the last 4 years have really changed your life.
Yeah.
Going from us hanging out in Cleveland for UFC 203 to now, it's like I'm talking to a different person. And again, people can say it's fanboying, people can say it's sucking up, people could say it's we're friends, but it doesn't take a blind man to see, like, I don't even know if that expression works in this sentence, but um, to see you've changed, to see the positive changes you've made in your life, in London's life, and any relationship you've been in, because any relationship before was, just destructive.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't there. It was great. There was fun. There was parties. But everything you've done since, even if it hasn't ended well, has been something that you can learn from, that you can grow from, and that you have. And I think that speaks a lot to your character in the sense that, you were Uncle Creepy. Now I've got you listed as Psychedelic Researcher. That sounds cooler, right?
Sounds way cooler.
Yeah, right? But realistically, you've been able to at least open my eyes to the concept of learning more about it because it is fascinating. And again, from the
Yeah.
psychological standpoint, why the placebo effect works, why everything works in our brains and how they can be trained, and so many things that our brains are trained to do. And to have something in nature completely restructure our brain for a positive outcome is fascinating.
It is, and it's
I know you're
it
so
is.
excited that I'm passionate about this now. Like I can see it in your face.
It's beautiful to see, man. You have your psychedelic exuberance. We all have it. We all had it at least. Everyone still has it. But you just got to be part of the movement. Just if you want to help out, just be part of the movement and talk about it. Do exactly what you're doing. Just tell your story. Tell other people's story. Have you taken big doses of mushrooms yet? Oh, okay. Well, we got to change that. And make you a better person.
Yeah, none of my family watching this is gonna be like, he said no, right? He said no.
Yeah, he's totally not gonna do it. when you come to California next, everything's gonna be decriminalized here, so you can do here.
I mean, I haven't been to California in like 20 years, so I
Really?
think we
Get
need
out
to change
here.
that.
I have a giant new apartment on the beach, so we're by the beach, I should say.
Well,
On PCH.
part of turning 33 in 30
big
minutes.
boy now.
30 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Happy birthday. Yeah, we'll be out there this year, 100%. Like, there's no reason not to be. I think this last year we saw people grow instead of fall. We saw people go through turmoil. We saw people go through loss and bankruptcy and everything else. And you're seeing people who their side gig became their only gig and they're thriving and they're happy. You have
way happier.
Yeah, you see these jobs that they were sucked into, that they were a slave to, not care about them, let them go, and then try to bring them back. And you've got these people living out their dreams and living out a new reality. And I'll never say that COVID was a good thing, but good things did come from it.
Oh yeah, I was looking at at least where I live, because it's paradise. The outdoor seating is packed.
Yeah.
And everyone's outside. And I was thinking, like, oh, this probably sucks for some places in the country, or in the world, but like here, it's brought everyone together so much. And you just see everyone's happy outside, and it's nice, man. Like, and yeah, the pandemic sucked. It was bullshit. But it is what it is. We have to make the best of it now.
We do. And I think at this point, we've gotten to a stage where, over the last year, if you've made any friends, bravo, because most people weren't hanging out. They weren't doing anything together.
Yeah.
This was like you were 13 years old and all you had was AIM and you were messaging your friends. Like that's what it turned into. So anybody who's maintained any relationships, friendships, you've had marriages, kids being born, like all this stuff is an accomplishment in this sense because the world didn't shut down.
Yeah.
Not for them. Oh, we're moving.
Can you not see me?
No, I can see you. You're just moving now.
Yeah, I'm just getting some water, something to drink. Something to drink. I've eaten so much food today.
Sorry, I just pulled a giant beard hair out of my mouth, so that was fun.
Beard hair.
Beard hair.
Nice.
So while you're doing that, I'll take a moment to thank the sponsors for the show. We've got La Barba Cubana, the beard care. Fat Boy Jiu Jitsu has some amazing BJJ gear, some fun shirts as well. We've also got Berto's Bake Shop, some incredible baked goods. And then Tim_makes knives on Instagram. One of my good buddies. He's actually making a custom knife for a random guest or fan of the show. So we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that and if we're allowed to send knives across the country. I really don't know if that's allowed.
You are.
guess we're gonna find out. So, but being, fans of Forge and Fire and watching somebody make a knife from a railroad spike is pretty badass. I'm not even gonna lie. So, I applaud that creativity.
It is pretty cool. Ugh. All right.
Oh, I'm getting dizzy just watching you.
Yeah.
Did you put mushrooms in my water?
Yep.
Yep.
It's mud water.
Yep. Yep. Listen, Zephyr Hills, Florida water. But really,
Florida water.
Zephyr Hills, Florida.
I need to go back to Florida. It's been way too long.
You really do, because I'm pretty sure the last time you were in Florida was this. Like, that was 9 years ago. 9 years ago.
Fuck, it was a long time ago.
And
yeah,
it's one of those moments I'll never forget. And we talk about it all the time. But I just remember, hey, what hotel are you in? Yeah, this one. It's right there. Yeah. Come on up. I remember you opening the door, and I expected you to be taller.
Sorry.
And you opened the door, and you just looked at me, Nick, and Bobby, and he went, yeah, come on in. And you're like, yeah, this is so-and-so. And you went to introduce Jiva. And I was like, you're like, this is and I was like, I know who that is. Like, the arm collector. And he was scary as shit. I'm not even going to lie. But he was
looks
so
like
calm.
a predator. Yeah,
he really
just
does.
He has sunken eyes, has really long arms. Yeah, he's a jungle creature, that's for sure.
Yeah. God, I haven't heard his name. I haven't even thought about him in so long. But in that moment, I was like, we're sitting there, and I remember my friend Nick filmed it, and then I went from like fanboy to professional in the same moment. And I know that breaks all the codes of, media and the same thing. But if I learned anything from probably one of my mentors, Dwayne Finley, was there's a different way to tell every story. And you can be a friend with a fighter and still tell an objective story.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're here 11 years later. You and I are still talking about this shit. And it's not even about fights anymore. And it's developed into this relationship where it's an informative conversation. It's not just about, okay, I'm fighting this guy, what was it? 6 years ago, a week ago, you fought Brad Pickett and was it in Dublin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I remember watching that fight, and my girlfriend was sleeping in the next room, and I was screaming at the TV, but I was trying to be quiet.
That was a fun fight. It was a fun week in Ireland. I love that place.
Great fight.
Yeah. I have to go back there for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, that fight was great. The Iliard Santos fight was great. I think it's Iliard. I don't even know what happened to that guy. He kind of just like disappeared.
Yeah, I made him like a local hero apparently with our fight, which was Alex Davis. The agent was saying, I was like, really? I just beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
But
then you wish my girlfriend a happy birthday at the end of your interview after it went off. So it was literally like you talking to Ariel, and you're like, "Hey, quick, it's happy birthday to your girlfriend," and it cut the interview, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "He said something." So again, that was 8 years ago. We're talking. Wow. These things I remember.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I remember you getting knocked on your ass in the first round of that fight against DJ, the second fight. And like the whole arena was just like there was an audible moment of just, oh no. And just watching the rest of that fight, it was like watching myself fight in there. And I'm not one to fight. We've talked about this all the time. Jiu-jitsu is the closest I'm going to get to fighting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if everything goes well, I'll have a purple belt in a couple years. So, yeah. It took, many, many years of watching, many, many years of avoiding it. And then I said, I'm going to be a white belt. And I said, I'm going to go compete. And then COVID hit. And then we went back to training. And I got a blue belt. And I went, shit. I said, now I'm going to get killed.
Like, damn it. Yeah.
in
It's
those
much,
moments of, so many people don't realize, like, being a bigger guy, like, that's not always a benefit. It's not always like, oh, I can just put all my weight on you, because if you have the right person underneath, they're going to use that weight against you, and it's going to hurt.
yeah,
It's going to be painful. And one of our recently promoted black belts, we used to say that he gave me frequent flyer miles, because he'd get the butterfly hooks in and literally just chuck me.
yeah.
And I'd be midair going, I don't know how this is happening. Like, I don't know what's going on.
We
Yeah, we. It's a me. I don't know where that came from, but why not? We're having fun here. But really, it's once you commit to it, jujitsu is not just a sport. It's not just a competition. It's not just something you do for fun. It turns into a lifestyle.
oh,
You know,
100%,
the things that you do.
100%.
I know I guided this right into an MMA based conversation, but realistically, it preps you for everything you've done in life,
Yeah,
everything you're gonna do in life, and everything you can do in life. So, seeing the MMA mindset you had, the jiu-jitsu asset mindset you have, a mindset, um, the coaching aspect you have, and seeing all that brought into something where you come full circle, where you're trying to work with these companies to help these athletes who are going through exactly what you did,
yeah.
who are going through this, and you want them to not have to suffer like you did. I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
profound, and for you to be speechless means that I said something right.
Yeah, exactly. They said it 100% right. I'm just trying to help people. I won't touch anything. The moment I started saying I won't touch anything unless it helps somebody else is the moment my life changed. Once I took that approach of, I have to be helping something with every move I make,
Mm-hmm.
my life forever changed, and there's no turning back now. It's a good feeling, you know. And it's not just with psychedelics, not just giving people drugs and hoping they figure it out. It's, like I said, some people need to work with a shaman, some people need to work with a doctor. Some people don't need psychedelics. They need other stuff. They need breath work and meditation and workout routines and dietary stuff. The supplementation, biohacking. I'm huge into biohacking, and I've been that way for years. And to see the world starting to catch up with like David Sinclair and people like that being on Joe Rogan's more and more, um, I get to really look at the work that I've been doing to get better. And I've been doing all the best state of the art stuff. Um, any technology that I can help invest millions of dollars into that I see is relevant and good in the space, help people, then rad. It can be tech, it can be anything that helps people. That's me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a company, I guess that's our motto. You watch the video,
Yeah, I
but
did.
we just like helping people. But it's a good field to be in.
So, with what you're doing, where do you see the landscape of MMA in 5 years? Where do you see the landscape of the acceptance of psychedelics in contact sports? Where do you see it in the normal world in 5 years? Given that you've completed what you set out to do and your company has set out to do, what is that like in 5 years?
In 5 years, I've got 15 new companies that are out that are all in psychedelics. That are of. I'm trying to lay the foundation, lay those bricks of the psychedelic industry, whether it's retreats and clinics and all the different companies that I want to do. Then I can help. I can have control realistically over all of this, and that sounds kind of bad, but just to keep everybody honest, because there's so many people in this industry I already don't trust, and I'm like, okay, like you guys are snakes, I get it. Like now I'm in charge. I'm. You have a CEO who's in charge of your company. I'm in charge of all that, and I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that I stay out of the drama and that I can help the right people get the right money to get the right information out there to the world and the right products out there to the world. Because with So all this going on becomes a lot of responsibility.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and I know people probably don't look at me as the most responsible individual, but I'm honest, and I've become responsible, and I'm loyal, and I'm loyal to human beings, to helping people. Like that's so it's like no one can take anything from me or stop me. Like it's like, no, this is what we're doing. You want to join the team? Join the team. Come join Nobody Studios. It's not the doors isn't closed off to just anyone can work with us.
Mm-hmm.
Can come at us with a good idea? You want to invest? We're going to be crowdfunded, the first crowdfunded VC out there. So, this is the people's company.
And that's crazy to hear because, like you said, so many people think it's self-serving. They think
Yeah.
this is a get rich, this is that. But your main goal is to build a brand, build these companies, and most importantly, help people. You don't have any ulterior motive in this. If there's some financial gain in it, let's not be, let's
Oh,
not say that's not a part of it. But
no.
realistically, you're not doing this for money.
I come from money. I come from a
Yeah.
lot of money. Like that's not my. Like I grew up part of the 1%. I don't, it's like it's cool. I like to further what we have, which is what's happening. But yeah, I don't. We can look at it this way. I can shelve a project. I can kill a project. I can say right people, wrong project, switch people around in the entire industry, and just make it easy for people where people don't have to worry about getting the legs under them. They have a good idea. Well, we have the entire platform for you to release a company with the tech and with this side of it and that side of it and whatever else you need, media, publications, all like everything in house. Like, yeah, that's, and also.
Oh. See, now I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I think your headset just died. Saying the best thing you were going to say, and now can't hear you. Of course, that's going to happen. Hey, guys, bear with us for just a second. Psychedelic researchers have problems too, so let's see what's going on. And hopefully we get Ian back. Hey! Let's see what's going on. It's not a show without technical difficulties, guys. Really isn't. So I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in every week. I know it's been a couple weeks since we had it, and hopefully we get Ian back on here. He can hear us. If not, go ahead and end the show. But thank you all for everything going into this episode 43. Like I said, coming up on my birthday just in a few minutes here. So I'm really excited to put this out for you and try to do something different this episode and barely talk about fighting at all and really talk about what happens after fighting and what happens after, um, a fighter's lifestyle and what we're supposed to do. So let's see if we can bring it back in. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey, look at that.
Okay.
I just did this whole like ending thing where I was like, oh, he's great, blah blah blah. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's crazy.
Yeah.
You missed all that, so
On drugs and all the typical excuses. How do I make this better?
I don't know what you were finishing up saying, but I feel like it was profound enough that the government shut off our mics. That's really what it was.
Probably. Like my girlfriend, she called. I'm like, what are you doing calling me right now? No. She just got her 5th movie since COVID started, so now I can't see her for another week. I'm like, this is bullshit.
5th movie?
Yeah. She's becoming famous now, so I'm like, it's your turn.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Step back.
Yeah. I'm just trying to go incognito.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you shave the mustache and shave the beard completely, maybe.
I'm too pretty without facial hair. That's the thing. It's too hard.
Yeah, and I look like I'm 15 when I shave mine, so that's
Little chubby cheeks.
yeah. You've seen the picture, like it's bad. Like it's not. I'm pretty sure, like even with this, like I didn't even have facial hair when this happened. Like
Yeah, you didn't know.
no, there's nothing. And what's funny is that
You couldn't grow a beard.
let's see, this way, the hat is right there.
Oh, the hat. Okay.
Yeah, I had to keep that.
Yeah, of course.
But
How many shows?
really,
How many shows have you been to now?
not enough. I mean, I've only really been to like a handful of UFCs. I've been to a few Bellators. Bare Knuckle is tomorrow in Tampa. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it.
What? I want to watch that shit.
Dude, I've been, and obviously tomorrow being my birthday and it being in Tampa, I should go. I just didn't end up like being able to make it work.
It's Rachel versus
Paige.
Paige.
Not only is it Rachel versus Paige, but they have Britain Hart fighting Jenny Savage underneath Paige versus Rachel after Britain beat Paige. So it's kind of shitty when you really think about it. And it's no offense to the organization, but
Oh wait, I didn't know Britain beat. Britain is the other cute one with the face tattoo.
yeah, she's the one who just married Joey Beltran, like today.
Is it a little blonde one?
Hold on, you've seen her before. She fought Beck Rollins.
I don't think it's the same one.
Oh god, I don't know if you can see it.
No, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so she beat Paige decisively.
Okay, in bare knuckle.
February, in bare knuckle.
Okay.
And then Jenny Savage comes in afterwards and does like the WWE, like gets in her face, throws water at her, and the next thing you know, like that's the fight they book. But I get it. You know, there's YouTubers, there's TikTokers on this fight card. You know,
really?
they're
bare knuckle.
Yeah.
Oh my god! You know what? I change it. I'll come out of retirement to fight a YouTuber for $1 million.
Heck yeah! Listen, you guys heard it here first. Dave Feldman. If anybody's listening,
and no, they offered me $30,000 a couple of years ago. I was like, "Fuck you." $30,000 to get in there and do that. Get out of here,
but
silly.
Paige has already said she's made more doing like her, you know, whatever site she has, the Fan Time or OnlyFans or whatever.
Yeah.
She said she's made more with that than she has in the UFC or bare knuckle. And I'm like, that's terrifying.
What does she do on there? Is she like is it an OnlyFans?
Basically.
Like, is she like fucking on there?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's kind of crazy.
Like if she was, it'd be on the internet. Like somebody would have posted that. Like, let's be honest.
That's true.
But at the same time, like obviously she's making an income. It was at least a 6-figure contract, if not more, to come to bare knuckle.
Oh yeah. Okay, so she's making that much money. Like, good for her.
She's making serious money. And again, bare knuckle at the beginning was here's all the rejects, and it's nothing disrespectful to anybody who fought on those first cards.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. You know, getting to talk to Leonard Garcia before his fight a few months ago, like that was one of the defining moments of my career because I'm like, I've been watching Leonard since I started.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who I watched on those first WEC wreckages, like the old school days when it comes to the new school MMA. Let's just call it that because old school is Pride and Valley Tudo and, you know, the stuff like that. But getting to talk to Leonard and walk through that and him fighting Joe Elmore and then having Tom Schaff in his corner who had fought Joe Elmore and like all these things that have worked together, they've really turned it into something exciting and something that people want to watch more so than some of these other organizations. And I think that's very strange. As of, I think it was July 1st, they don't have to wear like they've changed so there'll actually be bare knuckles. Because right now they have the tape on it. And I think they changed it in Florida a few weeks ago. So this will be the first card without that. And if you look, you know, Britain Hart fighting Jenny Savage, Rachel Ostovich fighting Paige Van Zandt, and Cassie Robb fighting Tay Starling, and if you watch that Tay Starling fight, dude, her last fight, both of their heads looked like they had swelled up, and people are trying to fist bump them after the fights. And that to me is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Trying to fist bump a person who just fought bare knuckle.
I realize I've known Rachel since she was like under 10 years old. So crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah. My buddy just sent me a picture. Look how hot the chick is. I was like, bro, I know her. I know her dad. Yeah, like,
Bro, I know her. That's weird.
I've known her dad for a long time.
That's crazy.
I was just
I
like,
thought it was weird to see her go there. But at the same time,
she's Hawaiian. She's crazy as fuck.
Yeah. There's certain people I'd want to see there. There's certain people I don't. But then you've seen like these hidden gems, and I'm going to use him as an example just because I've gotten to speak with him. Like Bobo O'Bannon. If you've ever watched that guy fight, dude, he's fantastic. Like, dude leaves everything in there, and he's so humble, and he's so kind afterwards. Like
Bobo?
Bobo.
I mean, you got to give these guys classier names.
So his name's Michael. And we talked about this on the
Skeeter and Bobo.
So we talked about this on the show, and this was something I never thought I'd be talking about on any show when it came to this during an interview. So he was a boxer back in 2009, and he killed somebody in the ring. He didn't know he did. Like, they died afterwards.
Yeah.
But that weighed on him for so long. And the idea behind it, because he said, I remember going in against this guy. He goes, the next thing I know, he hits me, and I'm looking up. And I got up, and we start to box again, and he goes, and he hits me again, and I go down. And I'm looking, and my coach is, get up. And he goes, and the next thing I remember is I'm talking to the guy after the fight after I've won. He goes, I don't remember anything in between. And finding, he kept asking his coach, hey, is that other guy okay? Yeah, he's fine. He goes, hey, did I just fight? He goes, yeah, you won. How's the other guy? No, he's fine. Couple minutes later, hey, did I just fight? Like, you could see there was something there. And that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But realistically, talking to somebody who had that kind of thing, and, anytime I talk about adrenaline in a fight, I always talk about you, and was it the Cruz fight that your leg broke?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't know it until you sat down on the stool and you were like, ow.
Yeah. I mean, we knew something was wrong with it. But yeah, we got it shown after it was fractured. They couldn't kick him. That was the whole game plan, was to chop his legs up so he could stop moving, but no, didn't work.
No, not exactly.
Yeah.
I just think of the Ox Wheeler. I think of all those fights you had in the WEC, and then coming over, being in that flyweight tournament. I mean, the flyweights, seemingly I thought were going to die when DJ left. Like, I really did.
Yeah, I think a lot of us did.
And the fact that they've thrived, and you've got guys like Brandon Moreno who went out there and destroyed Figueiredo.
He's a new star. It's not just like a new thing,
no.
A new champ. He's a new star. In Mexico is going to be such a big market.
Absolutely. So watching that rise, and just watching this division that was born as a part of me being a fan. Most of the UFC, most of everything else, it was already out there when I started watching. But seeing something that started the women's divisions and everything else, and seeing them all thrive, with the exception of really the featherweight division when women, because I feel like they thought Cyborg was just going to be the end-all, be-all.
Yeah, they did, for sure.
And watching Amanda just dismantle her, no disrespect again, but Amanda dismantled Cyborg. She stood there and traded with her. And I think it was the first time in however many years, that Cyborg's been fighting, over 15 at this point, that somebody stood toe-to-toe. And I don't think she knew what to do with that.
Dude, I just saw her at the Conor fight.
Yeah.
She was with her husband. She had her Bellator belt over her shoulder, and she was walking around outside in the arena. And dude, no one was even talking to her. And I was like, that's like that's the second baddest woman ever to walk the face of the earth, and no one was even talking to her. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Good to see you.
And you see that with a lot of fighters, and I won't make mention of one just because he was a good friend of mine and he did some not so great things lately. But I remember sitting in a restaurant with him and nobody knew who he was. I'm like, this guy's a champion of this organization.
Yeah.
And you guys have no idea. Like, nobody's coming up like, oh my gosh, it's you. Da, da, da. Nothing. And that blows my mind because as fighters, you could still be the best fighter on the planet and nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
You know?
And nowadays, little kids are like, well, Billy's dad, he makes money playing, Fortnite. So that's a lot cooler.
It's true, though. It's absolutely true. But goes back to when we were kids and we were told video games can never sustain your life. How many times have you moved and Tetris has been in the back of your head and you've been like, no, if I move this way or this way, I got this.
It works. It does.
It retrained the brain. It really did. And just like with what you're doing with psychedelics, I think that's a lot more intense.
What's your favorite video game, you nerd?
Nerd? of all time? Yes. Or
like sticking up for video games? They're really good for your brain. They are, I'm sure, good for your brain.
I mean, I love Tetris, obviously. I mean, that was pretty given.
Obviously.
I mean, Legend of Dragoon.
What?
Yeah. That was a PlayStation 1 game.
Okay, you're going way back. Okay.
Yeah, well, it basically came out. GoldenEye 007 is another one. We've all played that, yeah.
Yes, that was a fun game. I forgot about that.
Really to this day, that game stands up.
Yeah.
Like, it should not. It's cheesy, but it was cheesy then. So, it was glitchy then. No, Legend of Dragoon came out the same time Final Fantasy VII came out. Literally the same year, within months of each other. Both had a protagonist with, blonde hair and a big sword. They literally were copies of each other. And I didn't even touch a Final Fantasy game until a couple years ago. But the God of War and Ghost of Tsushima for recent games have probably been the best games that I've ever played in my life. Nerd.
Yeah.
Call me a nerd.
Nerd.
Listen, I'm 33 years young. Leave me alone.
I don't play video games. I need to try them, I guess. My daughter, I don't know. I need to just actually set my house up. I've been here in a month and I haven't set anything up. I need to get, once I get a TV, maybe I'll play some video games.
All right, I'll hold you to that.
Maybe.
Yeah. Listen, you got other things to do. I mean, I'm sure you're busy 24/7, so.
Yeah, basically.
Except for tonight, so I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah. So, on that note, man, I really appreciate it. It's been far too long since we've gotten a one-on-one that was not in the middle of a lagoon with birds chirping and random shit in the background.
Yeah, we need to be. Well, we'll set up a time to talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got so much to discuss, but I just want to thank everybody for listening. Again, I know this was way outside of our wheelhouse, but that's part of the Quiggin Out, philosophy where, we're not just going to talk, what's your next fight? What was it like to fight? What are you going to do next? That's not going to help anybody. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to get a story that you're either going to find fascinating or you're not going to understand what's going on and you're going to listen to it again and maybe get something out of it. So on behalf of myself, Combat Press, and the one and only Ian McCall, Psychedelic Researcher / comic, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Love you, man. Talk to you later.
Love you too, man.